Welcome to the second video about Budgeting 101. This video will include information about keeping track of fixed and variable expenses. This information is adapted from the Change Makes Sense curriculum provided by USU Extension. Fixed expenses have a due date, usually happen once a month, and have a known cost. Examples of these types of expenses are rent, utilities, and phone. Variable expenses do not have a due date, the amount can change, and the expense may happen often. Examples of these types of expenses are groceries and gas for your car. Tools that can help keep track of fixed and variable expenses are payment calendars, paper ledgers or worksheet charts, and the envelope system. Remember your budget limit for each of your expenses. Let's talk about payment calendars. Payment calendars are most often used for fixed expenses to make sure an expense is paid on time. To use a payment calendar, use a paper calendar or download a calendar, then write all the expenses and amounts on the day the expense is due. Make a habit of regularly looking at this calendar to keep track of what you need to pay. Here is an example of a payment calendar. You will notice that I wrote an example of when rent is due and wrote rent due on the due date, which is Friday, January 1st, and I included the amount. You can make a similar calendar as this one with your own due dates and expenses. Another tool to track expenses are paper ledgers. This tool is most often used for variable expenses to help you keep track of how much money is left to spend. Here is how to make a paper ledger. Start by making 4 columns. These 4 columns will include spaces for the date, place of purchase, amount spent, and amount of funds left to spend. You could combine all of your variable expenses, or you can list these expenses by category, like groceries. Next, write down the expense and subtract that from the amount of money left. Remember your budget limit for each expense. Here is an example of a paper ledger. You can see that I made an example ledger of groceries with the budget limit of $400. I listed the date a purchase was made, where the purchase was made, and the amount I spent. Then I subtracted what I spent from my budget to know what amount I had left to spend in that category. You can make a similar ledger as this one with your own budgeted amounts and expenses. The envelope system is most often used with variable expenses. Label each envelope with specific expenses, such as groceries, and then write the amount that can be spent. For example, someone might have a grocery expense with a budget of $300. Next, each payday, put the budgeted amount of money in the envelope. Remember to keep your envelope safe and only take the envelope you're using with you. For example, if you are shopping for groceries, just take your groceries envelope. Once you pay, put your receipt into the envelope to keep track of spending. Once the money in the envelope is spent, the shopping is done for that category. That concludes this presentation on Budgeting 101, tracking fixed and variable expenses. Remember that these are just some of the tools used. Be patient and try different methods. Upcoming posts will discuss tracking regular, irregular expenses. Thank you for watching.